Hey guys, just before the podcast gets started, don't forget to subscribe and turn on your notifications so you never miss an upload. Hello and welcome back to the Yellow Squared podcast. It is a beautiful Sunday afternoon. I'm sat recording with James. James, welcome back to the podcast. Another week on the Yellow Squared pod. And another 0-0 draw under Tom Cleverley. The draw kings, Watford. I think it's the joint most draws or the most draws in the Championship now this season. And what can we say about Hull at home, James? Welcome back.
Yeah, thanks, mate. Hello, everybody. Stats are a funny thing, aren't they? Because if you turn around to a non-Watford fan and say, we've only won 1 in 7 under Tom Cleverley, people would be like, oh, he'll be out the door fairly soon. But then if you turn it around the other way and go, oh, it's all right, we've only lost 1 in 7 under Tom Cleverley, people are like, whoa, you're fine. Yeah, we love a draw, don't we? I
Yeah.
think how many times have we spoken about a 0-0 draw this season?
Quite a few. Quite a few.
Plenty of, plenty of times this season we've been in this situation. But hey, plenty to talk through. Even though we couldn't score yesterday.
Yes, couldn't score. That and much more to talk about. We're going to have a little chat about Dan Bachmann's performance yesterday and whether this could be considered the worst season under the Pozzos. I know that is going to cause some tension in our comment section and on Twitter, but the stats don't lie. The stats don't lie, but we'll get into that and more in a little bit. But first, James, what have we got to get ourselves stuck into to kick off the podcast?
It's got to be guess the player, hasn't it, mate?
It absolutely does. 19-17 to you currently, James.
Yep.
2 match weeks to go. I'm hoping I can finally take the lead here. I've been waiting all season for my moment to strike, and I'm feeling it. I think it will come today.
Absolutely. The public have spoken. We asked them on socials, didn't we?
We did, yes.
In the week. The people want guess the player to continue or to do something else, and it was pretty resounding, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Guess the player must stay.
Must stay. Fan favourite. So,
Fan favourite.
I mean, we love doing it. So that's fantastic, and also means we don't have to get our heads together and work out a new game because we'd be having to guess squad numbers or something next season if we wanted a new one. Yes, the player stays, which I'm buzzing about, and I'm sure I'll be buzzing after the first clue when I get 3 points.
After clue 1, yeah. Well, all right. Shall we? We'll bounce straight into it. I hope you're ready. Hope you're ready at home. Okay, so clue 1. A bona fide Watford legend. I made a total of 273 appearances for Watford, scoring 60 goals across 2 spells at the club.
60 goals. That's quite a number.
It's a few, isn't it? It's more than this squad could score.
Yeah, it is. 2 different spells. So they left and came back. I'm just trying to rack my brain with some players that have potentially left and then come back to score more.
I've deliberately left the date out.
The dates, yeah, that's an interesting one to leave out. Okay, I'm trying to think of a player that's actually scored that many goals for Watford. That's quite a number. I'm gonna have a guess at. Well, we'll guess Tommy Mooney. We'll guess it.
It's not Tommy Mooney.
No, that's unfortunate.
Not Tommy Mooney. Close though. I like where you're going with that, but we'll pick that one up later on towards the towards the middle of the podcast. But thankfully, no, you haven't taken 3 points off me this week.
Yeah,
I've
just
been sneaky again.
the 2 and 1 available. Yeah, the dark arts very much at work now. Come the end of the season, there are no freebies going out anywhere for points on guess the player. Okay then, James. Hull City at home. Usually an absolute goal fest. No. Last season was
We were
0-0 as well. The coldest I've ever been at a football game.
awful.
That was the first game back after the World Cup break, wasn't it? And it was
It was.
literally a pre-season friendly in the middle of the season. It was such a
Yeah.
weird game. Um,
Yeah.
if I remember rightly, it never really got going. Hamza Chowdhury and a Hull City player properly damaged their knee in a tackle, literally in the first
Oh,
five
yeah.
minutes.
Yeah, that's
Um,
right.
and
Yeah.
cult hero Rayman I missed from about 4 yards
Oh, you just
as well.
reminded me of that. You just
Yes,
reminded me. And then
yeah.
he did his hamstring, didn't he?
He
Or
did, yeah, yeah, and proceeded to just
in air
walk around
quotes.
the pitch for a bit before actually going off. Fun times, and you know what? It was a good day, regardless of the football. But yes, I had to defrost when I got home after that one. Um, and yesterday was much of the same, really.
Mm.
We'll get into the starting lineup. There was a couple of changes.
Mm.
We'd obviously switched back to the 3-5-2. I think that was because Andrews was available from the get go, which is always a bonus. Nice and attacking. We knew Hull would attack us because they needed a win as well to
Hmm.
keep their playoff charge alive. So yeah, I think it was wise. We didn't need to stay in that four back formation because we weren't really looking to defend. We haven't had a win at home since November, and so it would be naive to try and hold out against a team where
Yeah.
we've hurt them already this season. It would be wise to just go out and play them. We've got nothing to play for. We're now officially safe mathematically in the championship. And yeah, it would have been nice to just go out and
Yeah.
attack them. Um, so yeah, the usuals really. Dennis and Bio starting up front together. Asprey through the middle. Noticeably, no Deli Bashiru or Chatfatadze in the squad. I'm not actually sure why that was. Potentially Knox or something, James.
Yeah, it's after the game. I think they said that Dele Bashu had an Achilles problem, and Chakvetadze had another knock. So yeah, not worth risking them. To be fair, this
Mm,
close to the end of the season, especially when Chakvetadze's got the Euros coming up. So
yes.
yeah, I think they missed out through injury. Yeah.
Yeah. Any thoughts on that starting 11? It come sort of the players we'd like to see, really, in my opinion.
Yeah, yeah.
Nice to see
I,
Dennis starting again. He's obviously had that weird groin problem, which doesn't really leave him alone. KMB and Kone in the
yeah,
middle, we're all happy with that, and a steady back three. I'm just
yeah. I
asking
think
your opinion on this one, James. Um,
yeah. I,
how do
I,
you see that back three? Is there any way that you'd potentially try and get Pollock in there over anyone else, or how did you feel they played yesterday?
I think for me, Sierralta would swap out for Pollock.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know really what it is. Maybe it's just a little bit of the eye test, but I think I feel more comfortable with Pollock being in that back three over Sierralta.
Mm.
It's not that I don't dislike Sierralta at all. I think they're probably equally competent, but I just there's something about Pollock. I just feel more secure defensively with him.
Yeah.
Sierralta sometimes looks a bit more shaky, and Pollock this season at least at the second half of the season he's looked really solid at the back. So
Yeah.
I think really the lineup for yesterday, obviously knowing that Delabashir and Chakmatadze weren't available, that that would have been the only change. I thought I quite liked that lineup. I like that we went back to the back three, like you said. It's working for us. And I'm hoping that what we're trying to do is to ingrain this system for next season because I think that spine is going to be largely unchanged over the summer, really. When
Yeah.
you think about it, yeah, I was pretty happy, and I thought, to be fair, um, in the sort barring the opening 10 minutes or so when Hulls came out and attacked us a little bit, I thought that back three looked pretty solid.
Mm.
If you exclude maybe the last 10 minutes of the game where it turned into a bit of a basketball game
Yeah.
when both sides were going for it. Yeah,
Mm.
I thought we looked pretty good, and I liked it, and I like the system. We'll talk about the wing backs in a bit, but yeah, I thought they were pretty good.
Yeah, I like the back three. It's quite defensively sound. We seem to stop conceding so many poor goals. Um,
Yeah,
I agree with you. To be honest, I think I'd rather have Pollock in there over Serralta. I just think Porteous and Serralta are both a bit erratic, and
mm,
Pollock is a nice safe pair of hands to sit in the middle
yeah,
of Hoot and Porteous, because Hoot, very much takes control of the left side, and Porteous from right back. It was possibly one of the greatest attacking performances I've seen in a Watford shirt in a long time from
yeah,
fullback since the days of Ikechi Anya. Um, but yeah, no, I thought he was immense last week, and I thought he was good again yesterday. He loves a yellow card. Um, yeah, good work from Porteous again. So yeah, I'd
yeah.
just swap out Pollock for that. As you mentioned, the fullbacks, James, Lewis and Andrews, we've mentioned them before in this sort of trouble
Yeah.
that we have with the
Yeah.
final product. Sema is now back from injury, came on towards the end of the game.
Mm.
Do you see Sema taking that position from Lewis for the remainder 2 games?
Yeah. If the answer is that Lewis is not going to come back next season,
Yeah,
I don't think he should personally. I don't think he's offered enough.
no, no.
Sadly for him, Lewis strikes me as one of these players that is having a massive confidence issue, and I just feel bad for him. I can just see him dropping down and down the leagues,
Yeah,
which you never want to see. But yeah, Lewis offers so little going forward, and where is Ken? We'll talk about this as we get onto it. But once Ken came on, the difference attacking from that
mm,
wing back position was stark. Just how direct he was, how determined he was to get past his man and get that ball in quickly into dangerous areas. If you keep Ken fit for the entire season, playing in that wing back role, I just think it's a real weapon in that system to have somebody like Ken
yeah,
compared to Lewis, because Lewis has his defensive frailties. So, like looking at it defensively, I don't see how Ken does any differently.
yeah,
But going forward, Ken is so much more dynamic and direct, which is I personally think that's what you need in the championship, just to be direct and go and like clinical. The
yeah,
pace,
yeah,
pace in the championship is what um, is a real weapon. So yeah, um, I thought Andrews was okay. To be fair, he gave away a couple of silly free kicks. I do remember sort of thinking at one point in the towards the end of the first half that Andrews looks like a player that just needs their summer break now. It's his first full season in
yeah,
professional football. I think he just looks a bit tired, which is totally justifiable, considering how young he is. I think he just needs a break.
yeah.
So it'd be interesting to see how many more minutes Ngaki gets towards the end of the season, because he looked pretty good coming on as well, didn't he?
Yeah, he did actually. I was going to mention that in the substitutes that came on.
Sorry,
Um,
mate.
no, no, you're absolutely fine. It was a good little segue for me. Yeah, Andrews, he's been great all season, to be honest. Definitely the standout for the youth players coming through,
Mm,
particularly from the Watford Academy. So very pleased for him to be almost at the end of his first senior season, the full season, and yeah, again he looked a little bit tired yesterday. He looked frustrated, and it comes across as being frustrated to the point where
mm.
it's like, oh, do I even belong here? Do I deserve to be at this level? And I completely understand that as someone that plays football regularly, it can sometimes feel like when stuff isn't going your way, you're low on confidence. Whether you start to question whether you're good enough, and I think he is good enough. He just needs time, and yeah, that summer break will be important for him
Mm.
to recharge and also to work on stuff for next season because there is a player in there. It's just
Yeah,
very raw at the moment. Yeah, as for some players coming back from injury, you mentioned Ken already. Um, and Gakia came on. I was again pleasantly surprised. He looked good in that right wing back position, calm on the ball, likes to put in a cross as well. And I think his final product is better than Andrews from
mm.
the limited amount of football we've seen him play. So that's a
That's
pleasing factor.
yeah,
And yeah, it's nice to see him back. And yeah, the main substitute that came on, who really stood out to me, Rajovic. And I'm happy to be saying
yeah,
this. He looked aggressive. He looked like he was up for it, and that's someone that's playing to be a part of the squad next season. It's someone who's still willing to prove himself. 44
absolutely.
games into the season, in a season which essentially now means nothing. That's as far as mindsets go.
Yeah,
That's really class, and yeah, he put himself about. And I think the partnership that could be built from that is Ken Sema's, directness, getting balls
oh,
into the box,
yeah,
getting to the byline, and Rajovic can be there. He says the
yeah,
the box is his office. He needs to be given some chances, and I think he'll put them away. But yeah, very pleased with him.
yeah.
Any thoughts add on that?
No, I would just completely agree with what you said there. I mean, I was laughing at sort of he was substituted on for a throw in. The ball was thrown to him. He immediately won the header,
Mm,
brought it down, turned and rolled his man, drove towards the box, thought he was going to shoot, got fouled, looked completely furious with the fact that he was fouled,
yeah,
demanded the free kick, wellied the free kick as hard as he could at the goal, forced
forced
a
a good
really good
save. Yeah,
save, forced a brilliant save, goes out for a throw in. He sprints across, launches the throw in into the box. It was one of the most manic 90 seconds of an introduction I think I've ever seen,
yeah,
and I thought it was absolutely brilliant.
yeah,
Um, if the game itself wasn't particularly entertaining up until the last 15 minutes, Rajovic, you know, elevated the entertainment levels 10 times.
yeah.
Um, but I loved it. But I completely agree with you. He's the person that has changed the most since Cleverley's come in.
Yes,
And
yeah,
I know that Cleverley made those points, didn't he? That how impressed he's been with Milleta um, since he's sort of come in charge, and it does just show to me that Rajovic looks like a real confidence player. And I think if you turn around to him and said, "Listen, we're going to play this 3-4-3 system or 3-5-2, and you're going to be the number 9, and we're going to put, you know, inside forwards either side of you, or we're going to have players around you, and Ken and right back, whoever that is, they are going to their first thought is to get beyond their man and stand the ball up on the 6-yard box."
mm.
I think Rajovic becomes a different animal next season. And I think if that is the case, how many goals has he scored for us? 13.
Yeah,
Something like that. I think he easily scores 13 again. If you play this system and you play to his strengths, he can score goals for us. And then I think you're looking at a player, I don't know how much we spent for him, 2
but
million or
yeah,
something, or a
something like
million?
that. Yeah,
Something like that. Million to 2 million. If you've then got a striker that's had 2 seasons in the championship, scored 30 goals, let's say over 2 seasons, then you
you make your money back, don't
double
you?
or triple your money on it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
at
so
least. Yeah, very pleased.
yeah, great. So I thought he was really encouraging. I didn't know whether or not you wanted to talk about the other three that started, Aspria, Dennis, and Bayo at all, because I'd like
Well,
to hear what your thoughts were on their performance. Really.
Yeah, it's frustrating again, isn't it? That's been the theme of the Tom Cleverley reign so far. Just frustration at the final ball. We were just having a joke off camera before, off the podcast before starting this about how it feels like we just have a team full of attacking midfielders that are intent to play each other in. Um,
Yeah.
Nobody is willing to have a shot. The ball is never going to fall perfectly for you. It just chances are wasted so much in this, and you have to be clinical in the championship because if you're not ruthless and you're not clinical, that's when you start being in trouble because we're okay defensively, but we need to do more going forward because we could be sitting on two more wins if we just took one chance against Preston and we
Yeah.
took one chance yesterday. Um, yeah, we can talk about Bachmann and how he helped us yesterday, but it needs to improve from the front. And Dennis is at the moment having too many sort of off days. Um,
Yeah.
and
The biggest.
he needs to make it go the other way. He needs to be more on it than he is off it, because ultimately, he's playing for potentially to go back to Nottingham Forest and play in the Premier League, or he's potentially trying to impress Watford into re-signing him because he said came out in the week. Weirdly enough, was a pundit on Sky Sports in the week. Um,
Yeah.
and said, if the club want him to stay, he's happy to. He obviously loves being at Watford, and we said already it could be easy for a lone player at this stage of the season to just be on the
Mm.
beach, really not interested. But he runs a lot. He gets himself around the pitch, and even though he isn't on it every single game, you can tell he wants to be there, and that's pleasing for me. Aspria,
Oh,
he is one of the most infuriating football players I've
yeah.
watched in a long while, purely because he is so talented. He
Yeah.
just his decision making is all wrong, all wrong.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
final ball is good, maybe 1 in 5, but when it is good, he either scores an absolute thunder
Oh, yeah. I mean,
thunder,
yeah.
or he puts in a great cross for someone to score, puts in a great assist. But it's 1 in 5 is not good enough. And if you're looking from his perspective at trying to get a move to the Premier League or to Europe in the summer,
Yeah.
that's gotta improve. Because he is just intent on
Yeah.
playing people in when he can shoot from anywhere. Honestly, we
It's
need to
difficult, isn't it?
shoot more.
Yeah.
There are
I
so
mean,
many opportunities where it opens up for you. And what happens? Kone away at Southampton, Porteous away at Southampton. They just had a shot and it went in because, they're
yeah.
professional football players. They can shoot from outside the box and it at least trouble the keeper because passing the ball around outside is not benefiting anyone, really, because it always
Mm.
leads to being overplayed or the chance going to miss in the end.
Yeah. Esprit is the most. Yeah, so frustrating, as you said, because you can see how good he is. He made that one brilliant turn on the halfway line and drove at the box.
Yeah.
And
And you're just crying
it,
out for him to
he,
shoot.
well, he moved it onto his left foot, and he had the perfect chance, and then he decided to cut back and slow it down, and he tried to play Dennis in, but you could see that because he moved so fast, nobody could keep up, and then Dennis was on full sprint, and he didn't really want to receive the ball where he received it, and the chance goes away. You just want him to just take the chance, and it's difficult to know whether or not it's because he's a little bit young and he's just making the wrong decision, or whether he's on such a different level, with his vision around the pitch to everyone else out there that
Mm.
when he's playing with higher quality players, they'd be able to deal with the balls and they'd be able to make the runs that
Yeah.
he's wanting players to make. It's so hard, but you're absolutely right. I mean, uh, list of looking at somewhere between 10 and 15 million pounds for
Mm.
him this summer.
Yeah.
But if he just improved his assists return, that's another 5, maybe even 10 million on top of that.
Yeah, and the clubs are willing
So
to
it's
pay that, especially out of the Championship.
oh
Victor
yeah,
Gyökeres
yeah,
last season moved
yeah,
on to Sporting Lisbon. I think it's about 17 or 18 million, and is absolutely
yeah.
tearing it up in there. And it shows to the world there is quality in the Championship that is
Yeah.
stuck in the Championship with underperforming sides. And yeah, you know what? It's no wonder that Brighton paid 30 million for João Pedro, and he was the top goal scorer in the Europa League, and he was absolutely tearing it up for Brighton this season in the Premier League, and everyone's like, oh, where have Brighton uncovered this player from? Um, yeah,
Right, and I've done
we
it
did it
again.
we did it 4 years ago, but
Yeah.
yeah, that's enough about our scouting network in South America. I think before we discuss the Pozzos and Super Danny Bachmann, James,
Yeah.
we've got to get back into guest the player because I've been itching for more information on this player. Wasn't too
Ah,
much to go on, 280 odd appearances and 60 goals. And
where?
judging from your reaction to Tommy Mooney, I'm guessing that it is not in my time period. So I'm really going to have to dig deep for this one to try and pull it out of the bag.
I don't know. I don't know. Anyway, all right, okay. Clue two. So just a reminder, this player could be described as a Watford legend. 273 appearances over two spells, scoring 60 goals. Clue number two. I played for a further 6 clubs in my career, all in England, including Southampton, Derby, and Portsmouth. And I scored against Watford in a 3-1 defeat in front of the TV cameras in 2011.
Ah, well, I know who that is, and I will. Yeah, I'll give him legend status at Watford. Mr. Tommy Smith.
Yeah.
Tied
Tommy,
it level.
Tommy.
Tied
Tommy
it level.
Smith.
Yeah.
Right at level, mate. What a player.
Yeah, good player.
What a player he was.
A little bit before my time, but uh, I spent many a day in my childhood watching those old school season reviews, and he was definitely up there as a consistent performer. Even remembering that 3-1 away win at Loftus Road in that in the season where I think QPR had like Tarapt and all those players and were destroying the championship. But yeah, little brace from Danny Graham and our Don Cowie from last week's guest player. So that links in as well.
Oh,
Crikey,
yes.
we're good at podcasting.
For the purists out there, the third clue for 3 points was often heard on Five Live. My brother Jack also made a handful of appearances for Watford. Talented family, the Smith family, and I think it's one of his sons at the Watford Academy as well now. I
Yeah,
think
I
I
think
saw
so
that some.
actually. Yeah. So
So
maybe
nice
we'll
to
be
see.
seeing another Smith up front for the Hornets one day,
Here's
which
hoping.
which would be decent.
Couldn't do much worse, could he?
No, no, he couldn't. Okay then, James. Last little bit of the podcast. I've got a
Mm.
few questions for you. We'll start with Dan Bachmann in goal. I think he probably had one of his best performances in a Watford shirt yesterday,
Yeah,
saving a
yeah,
penalty, saving 2 or 3 one-on-ones,
yeah.
and I didn't see him kick the ball into touch once.
No,
So
no.
I think I don't know if he got man of the match. I didn't really stick around to find out, but
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, completely deserved. Great penalty save. That one-on-one he had with Greaves is a great
Oh,
save as well. Really great save because he hits it. It goes straight at him, but it's not quite on the floor, and it's it was hit with real power. But yeah,
the best. The best save
commanding.
was the best save was that one outside the box, wasn't it? It was drilled, and he's had to sort of readjust. Made a great
Yeah.
save, and then had to react to get out to Billy Sharp, wasn't it? Really brave, and
Mm.
yeah, he was excellent. He was genuinely excellent yesterday, and absolutely loved seeing two fans' penalty get saved.
Yeah.
Fabulous.
Yeah.
Um, Fabulous.
Yeah, it's
Yeah, he
it.
did really well, didn't he? Do you
w-
think it was his best performance for Watford?
Um, yeah, you know what? I'll put it up there. I think I'll put it up there because it's a clean sheet as well. I think he had
Mm.
other performances at the start of last season where he looked really quality. Couple of massive saves away at West Brom last season, in the 1-1 draw, and obviously Burnley at home as well, where he was probably
Yeah.
looking one of the best goalkeepers in the Championship at that point. Um,
Mm.
yeah, he's gone through a real tough period in the last sort of 18 months as Watford player. It fell out of favour as number one.
Yeah.
Um, became club captain, and then obviously that's been moved on. So it's been a tough period for him, but I'm happy to see that he's playing well again. I think he's looked fairly good in the performances under Tom Cleverley. He made
Mm.
that unbelievable save away at Birmingham to give us 3 points. But yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
I'm pleased he's coming back into his own because confidence is a massive thing in football, and it's so difficult with such a hard spotlight on goalkeepers. It's very difficult to hide away from any sort of mistake, and he's been criticised a lot on from Watford fans, and yeah, it's
yeah,
pleasing for. I mean, yeah, even we've criticised his performances as well, and
yeah,
and
yeah.
criticised the way he's carried himself at times, but yeah, I'll be the first to say that I'm pleased that he's doing well again because yeah, he was a quality goalkeeper in that season we got promoted, where he had to step in for Ben Foster.
Mm.
Um, but yeah, it's good to see him back at his best.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know it's not our keep buy sell episode, but he's really, for me, starting to play his way back into keeping. I think.
Mm,
But
I mean, all will be
not,
revealed. So watch this space
I won't
for that
enjoy.
the return of I would say a fan favourite, the keep buy sell. So yeah, last question then, James, and this could be a juicy one to get into. Last season we ranked our 10 Pozzo seasons, um,
Yeah.
from worst to best. Would you consider this to be the very worst season under the Pozzo tenure?
Uh, it's very difficult for me, and I will expand on this. No,
Okay.
no, I don't think so. This one isn't the worst. Although I know we are on course to either only just match or be worse than the 2009-10 season. That was our next lowest points finish in the championship. And I think we can only match it or maybe beat it by a point. So statistically, it's been a very poor season. But for me, no. And I'm happy to expand on that. Is it the worst for you?
Um. Yeah, I think it's got to be up there. Um. I think if I remember rightly from that sort of tier list, I'd put the 2013-14 season quite low in that. And purely from the context of that the season before we'd had such a great year. The first season with the Pozzo Zola came in, and then the second season was a bit of a fall back to earth, really, in terms of that it was a pretty uninspiring sort of 13th place finish. Um, we did the very Watford thing of just about winning more than we drew and lost. I think it was sort of 16 wins, 15 draws, and 15 losses that
Yeah,
season. And this season has felt kind of the same. It's not we're not pushing for anything. We did look like we could push for that sixth place in the playoffs at one point in the season, but it's
yeah,
very much fizzled out and it's quite uninspiring. We don't look like a side that can compete with the teams that come down from the Premier League, and we don't look like we can compete at the moment with those teams that have rebuilt in the Championship for a few years. I'm looking at the West Broms and the Hulls of the Championship, and it's sad to
yeah.
see, but I don't think there's very much ambition at the moment in this squad. Who knows over the summer? Hopefully we can look at least finishing in the top half next season, or trying to sneak into the playoffs depending on results and whatnot. Um,
Hmm.
but yeah, I think this would have to be one of the worst. But I think last season was
Oh yeah,
particularly more sour. I just think this has fizzled out into a bit of nothing. It's not very painful. We're still enjoying recording. I'm still enjoying, to a certain extent, watching Watford draw 0-0 every week.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but yeah, it's. I think statistically it goes down as possibly the worst ever under the Pozzos. Lowest points return,
Yeah.
lowest league position, and it's going to be the lowest, wins. I think I was looking at the table before we sat down to record today, and I think we're joint third lowest for wins in the entire championship. And you're looking at teams below us. That's like Huddersfield, Rotherham, and Birmingham and Plymouth were on 12 with us, and those are not the kind of clubs that we want to be, in contention with, because it's a dangerous place to be for Watford. And relegation to League One would not only financially cripple us, but it would be very dangerous for the type of players that we have, because many players would move on, and that could be a worry. Not that I'm worried that will happen next season, um, but yeah, it's not been a great season, but it's not quite been the worst for me.
Yeah, so that's kind of my point really. Uh, I think in terms of a tier list, last season is the worst because of all of the reasons you said. We had the expectations of, you know, rebuild, Rob Edwards,
Mm,
Windac down, João Pedro, Sarr. We had a great squad. We had optimism, and then just to see how it unravelled was just awful to watch. And by the end, you just wanted the season to be done, and you know there weren't many people that wanted any of that squad to stay.
mm, yeah,
So I think expectations for this season were much lower, and they were we were talking about a rebuild, and there's plenty that I've enjoyed of this season. This that sort of rebuild phase under Valerian at the start of the season, where we were going through, a new style of play, and he was
mm,
fixing the discipline issues and that patch on, and everyone was happy with what we were seeing with Val,
mm,
etc., etc. So your expectations were lower, um, and although we haven't won that many, even under Tom Cleverley, I've still kind of enjoyed what we've seen.
yeah,
I'll be accused of being a happy clapper here, but hey, who cares? Uh, so I think there's more to take from it. Yes, we haven't won many games. Yes, our final third has been woeful, as it has been all season.
mm,
Tom hasn't changed that from Val. We haven't been able to score any goals. I firmly believe that if we had tightened up the final third, we would be well up there.
yeah. I mean, we're leading the championship for draws, and that
Yeah,
kind of shows you that we're not losing many games. It's 17 draws out of 44 games. That is a lot of draws,
it's
and
a huge amount,
it's literally
and it
it's one chance, and we've spoken about this so many times. We're just
yeah,
so wasteful in the final third, and tightening that up, and you're looking at top half at the very least, possibly
well,
even sneaking into the playoffs, because at that point
look at
in
Easter.
November and December, all the goals were going in for us, and we surged up the table, because it's very very congested in the middle, which is why it's been so difficult for us to really move up or down, because so many teams are on such sort of similar points.
Yeah. I can't think of many games this season where we've drawn a game and sort of come out the other end and gone, oh wow, we got away with it. There's not been many. Most of the times, the full time was, oh, how have we not won that?
Yeah,
You know, and if you just take Easter for example, we conceded late. Was it the 87th minute against Leeds,
yeah,
and then that last minute goal from West Brom to draw the game, like. we've just not been consistent enough all season. Yes, it's been disappointing. It's been a disappointing season in a number of places. It's certainly not up there. But I think for the budget and for the squad and for what we're trying to do now to cut our cloth accordingly, it's not been terrible. Not
No,
been terrible.
no. Well, I think that is a good little place to end off the podcast. Then a little bit of a downer on an otherwise happier podcast. Um, but yeah, I'm still very much Tom Cleverley in.
Oh, absolutely.
There was a
Yeah.
couple of little interesting bits this week in the Watford world. Is it Dumbia? Dumbia, he was
Yeah.
with the
Yeah.
squad training before his move in the summer. Um, Interesting to see that. I think they wouldn't have done that if they weren't considering putting Tom Cleverley in charge. Um, because
Yeah.
he's
And
obviously
it was
just acclimatizing, getting used to the style of play.
is it Lou is a chap it's Lou Warnes, isn't it, on Twitter, who seems to
Yes.
be pretty well connected.
Mm.
And he seems to think that Tom's gonna get the job, which is great.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? That would be the probably the best thing to come out of this season, really. To end off with a manager that the fans like, clearly the players like and want to get behind him. We seem to have regenerated that spirit of not wanting to lose, not really dropping our heads, and yeah, it's frustrating to concede late goals, but you can see what it means to the players um,
Mm.
to score and to come from behind and to really go up against those. I mean, it's been a hideous run of games for Tom Cleverley when you're looking at the table,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
we've really not we've not covered ourselves in glory, but we haven't disgraced ourselves at all.
Yeah.
I
We
think we've
we
gone toe
we
to toe with all of them, and
absolutely.
yeah, he deserves the position.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Completely agree. There's a positive note to end on, mate.
there is the positive note. That's what we were looking for. All right, then, guys, thank you very much for listening to the podcast this week. Let us know down below if you are Tom Cleverley in or you're willing to roll the dice again and find a new manager to come in over the summer. Let us know what you think in the comment section down below on Twitter, on Instagram. Thank you very much for 100 followers on Instagram. That's sort of gone up very quickly. The support on there has been really nice from everyone. And yeah, we will catch you again very soon after next week's game. Take care, everyone.
Cheers, everybody.